There are all kinds of love in this world, but never the same love twice. Scott Fitzgerald said that. I read it years ago. Didn't really understand it back then. I do now. My name's Richard. I'm 79 years old. I live alone in a house that used to be full of noise, full of life. Kids running around, my wife in the kitchen making dinner, the TV on in the living room. Now it's just me, my coffee, and the morning light. I was married once, for 42 years. Her name was Catherine. She passed 11 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to the end. People told me I'd move on, that I'd find someone new, that I was still young enough, still healthy enough, that I deserved companionship. And for a while, I thought maybe they were right, but they weren't. Most mornings I sit here with my coffee, black, no sugar, the way I've always taken it. There's a photograph on the shelf, right across from me. Catherine and me on our wedding day. She's wearing white. I'm in a rented suit that was too big in the shoulders, and we're both grinning like idiots. I look at that photo every day, not because I'm sad, not because I'm stuck in the past, but because it reminds me of what love actually felt like. Real love. The kind that doesn't come around twice. Catherine and I met when I was 24. She was 22, a friend's sister. We met at a barbecue. We talked for 3 hours straight. And I knew, by the end of that night, I was going to marry her. We got married a year later, had 3 kids, Michael, Laura, and Jenny. It wasn't perfect. You know, we fought sometimes. Money was tight. There were years I worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. There were nights we went to bed angry. Mornings we didn't talk. But we loved each other, deeply, in a way that didn't need explaining. We knew each other, really knew each other, the good parts and the ugly parts, and we stayed anyway. That's what love is, I think, staying when it's hard, choosing each other every single day. After she passed, I didn't know what to do with myself. The house was too quiet. The bed was too big. I'd wake up in the middle of the night reaching for her, and she wasn't there. My kids worried about me. They'd call every day, stop by on weekends, bring the grandkids over to keep me company, and I appreciated it. I really did. But I also needed time to grieve, time to figure out who I was without her. It took a couple years before I felt like myself again, or at least a version of myself that could function. I started going to the senior center, playing cards with some of the guys, volunteering at the food bank on Thursdays. Small things, just things to fill the time. And that's where I met Helen. Helen was 73, a widow like me. Her husband had passed 5 years earlier, heart attack. She was kind, sharp, had a good sense of humor. We started talking after one of the volunteering sessions, and before I knew it, we were having coffee once a week, then twice a week, then dinners. My kids noticed. They didn't say much at first, but I could tell they were watching, waiting to see what would happen. Helen and we got along well, really well. We'd go for walks, talk about our lives, our families. She made me laugh. I made her laugh. And for a while I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what comes next. One night, about 6 months in, Helen invited me over for dinner. She cooked pot roast, mashed potatoes, the whole thing. We sat at her dining table, candles lit, soft music playing in the background, and she looked at me and said, "Richard, I think we should talk about what this is, where it's going. I knew what she meant. She wanted to know if I was serious, if I saw a future with her, if I was thinking about marriage. And I sat there, looking at her across the table, and I realized something. I liked Helen. I enjoyed her company. I cared about her. But I didn't love her. Not the way I loved Catherine. Not even close. It wasn't Helen's fault. She was wonderful. She deserved someone who could love her fully, completely, without reservation. But I couldn't be that person, because every time I looked at her, I was comparing the way she laughed to the way Catherine laughed, the way she held my hand to the way Catherine held my hand. And it wasn't fair. Not to her, not to me. I told her that night, gently, honestly. I said, "Helen, you're a wonderful woman, but I can't give you what you deserve. I'm not ready. I don't think I ever will be." She cried. I cried too, but we both knew it was the right thing. That was 5 years ago. Since then, I haven't dated, haven't tried. People ask me sometimes, friends, my kids, "Dad, don't you get lonely?" And the truth is, sometimes, yeah, I do. But loneliness isn't the worst thing in the world. What's worse is being with someone and still feeling alone. Waking up next to someone and wishing they were someone else. I'd rather be by myself than live like that. At 79, I know what I want and what I don't. I don't want another marriage. I don't want the paperwork, the expectations, the complications. I don't want to merge lives, merge finances, merge families. I don't want to navigate adult children who are protective of their inheritance. Grandchildren who don't understand why Grandpa has a new woman at Thanksgiving. I've been there. I've done it. I built a life with Catherine. We raised our kids. We built a home. And now, that life is over. I'm not looking to build a new one. Here's what people don't understand. When you're young, you build. You get married. You buy a house. You have kids. You plan for the future. But when you're 79, you're not building anymore. You're protecting the peace you've earned, the independence you've fought for. I wake up when I want. I eat when I want. I watch what I want on TV. I don't have to answer to anyone. And that might sound selfish. Maybe it is. But I've spent my whole life putting other people first. My wife, my kids, my job. Now, for the first time, I get to put myself first. And I'm not willing to give that up. My daughter Laura came over a few months ago. We were sitting on the porch, drinking iced tea, and she said, "Dad, are you really okay, being alone?" I looked at her and said, "Sweetheart, I'm not alone. I've got you. I've got Michael and Jenny. I've got the grandkids. I've got friends. But don't you want someone?" I smiled. I had someone for 42 years, and she was more than enough. Laura got quiet, and then she said, "I miss her too." "I know you do, honey." We sat there for a while, not saying anything, just being. And that's the thing. I don't need another wife. I don't need another partner. I need peace. I need time with my family. I need quiet mornings and simple routines. And I've got that now. People talk about companionship like it's something you can only get through marriage. But that's not true. I've got companionship. I play poker with the guys every Tuesday. I have coffee with my neighbor Bill on Saturdays. I FaceTime with my grandkids. I'm not isolated. I'm not cutting myself off from the world. I'm just choosing how I spend my time and who I spend it with. And I don't need a marriage certificate to do that. There's also this. When you marry someone at 79, you're not just marrying them. You're marrying their whole life, their kids, their baggage, their health problems, their financial situation. My kids have made it clear, without saying it directly, that they're protective of what Catherine and I built. This house, our savings, the things we plan to pass down. And I get it. I do. If I remarried, everything would get complicated. Wills, inheritances, legal rights. Here's what I've learned. Love and marriage, they're not the same thing. You can love someone without marrying them. You can care about someone, spend time with them, enjoy their company, and not sign papers. Marriage made sense when I was 25, when we were building a life together, raising kids, planning for the future. But at 79, what's the point? I'm not having more kids. I'm not buying another house. I'm not building a future. I'm living out the time I have left, peacefully, simply, and I don't need a contract for that. Sometimes I think about what Catherine would say if she could see me now, sitting here alone, refusing to move on, and I think she'd understand. She knew me better than anyone. She knew I'm stubborn, that once I've made up my mind, that's it. But I also think she'd want me to be happy, and I am, in my own way. I'm not miserable. I'm not sitting here wallowing in grief. I've got a good life, a simple life, a peaceful life, and that's enough. If you're listening to this and you're 50, 60, 70, thinking about getting married again, ask yourself one honest question. Is it love or is it fear? Fear of being alone, fear of dying alone, fear of what people will think. Because if it's fear, that's not a good enough reason. Being alone isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Losing your peace is. Losing your independence is. Waking up every day with regret is. Thanks for listening to my story. If it spoke to you, if it made you think, feel free to subscribe for more reflections on life, love, and finding peace in the later years. I appreciate you taking the time. Take care of yourself.